freedom together.
But she didn't present them together.
She kind of mentioned them. Yeah, because I wouldn't have thought of them as going together into. You're talking about like the the three forms down at the bottom, and then the three of them. All the way to the right.
Because I'm sure if you like look for artists, you can find some artists that look more conceptual terms, using I guess words and form and stuff like that, and then also like the idea of one thing meaning another, like if you can kind of help you a little more to elaborate on your ideas.
I mean, it seems like, I mean, I don't know how you would present these if you ever took them somewhere, but at the state they are now, as far as like presentation and crafts, they seem like studies for what would be the piece. They're not very strong visually. Like the fact that we all had to, I mean, unless that's part of it, getting so close to it and being uncomfortable and not being able to really get into it. But like, I know
part of my personality.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I guess if that's your intention, that's good. But maybe say that. But like, there's certain pieces, you know, content aside, like whatever they're about aside. Like, I'm sure you know that like this would read a lot more as words weighing someone down if that was like humongous. And you like went ahead and printed each one of these really big and like really gave that effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then this, like, it's just like craft also. Like, why didn't you make these letters bigger or like with stronger paper? You know, like, why didn't you pin down your papers in all corners so that you could see it the right way? You know, why didn't you collect more?
Well, I have a lot more.
Then present a lot more.
I think that's a good point. I think it's about sort of dabbling in an idea versus executing an idea. So these are dabbles. And I think so those symbols, they're so small that they're hard to read, and whatever impact they were going to have, they're just like they're like, what do they call those things when you make a small photograph? Thumbnail. Yeah, like this generally seems like a thumbnail, not small out of intention, but just small because you didn't make it right. You know, you haven't pursued the ideas enough. And the simplest one is that one with the paper. If it's about being overwhelmed by all this paper, the very most immediate thing you can do is bring in all the paper. And then a couple of bags full of it and drop it down. And then at least you're going to be confronted with what's the consequence of this and how much paper do you need to have it be that. I actually think that this, when you print words over words over words, when you print words over words over words, you don't even need the person. There's a way to do that becomes so oppressive. You know, the spread of where the words are readable, how the words get accumulated, how dense they become, what the words are. That's all you need. And that's actually kind of a nice idea. And you don't need to illustrate with a poor little person below it. You need to oppress us. In other words, it's the difference between I'm impressed and you're oppressed versus feeling oppressed. So, and I think in a lot of these, you demonstrate the issue rather than communicating the issue. Communicating is wrong. engaging us in the issue, whatever that issue is. So I would rework that one for sure. And so, like, this poor girl's crying, but she looks like she's dripping. She doesn't look like she's crying. Oh, she's dripping and crying?
Oh, she's like melting.
She's,
Like
well, she doesn't look like she's melting. She looks like she's cry dripping, and in a very flat and graphic way. I don't know that that either serves you well. I love the story of that one, that you started to write down and have these experiences, and in a way, in the process of it, kind of. So, I think within these investigations, there are places for you to like dig a lot deeper. But you have to be responsive. You know, one of the reasons that we have these critiques is that ideally, if she's verbally responsive to you, she can go back and be conceptually responsive to herself. So when you're looking at somebody else's work critically, you can go back and say to yourself, maybe I don't need that person. Maybe the overwhelming quality of this image is those words. A storm of those words. And what scale it needs to be. And how dense it needs to be. And when it needs to, you need to be able to ask those questions of yourself, having made the thumbnail. So that's the trick.
It's funny like, you mentioned about the paper. I was originally going to do with a board, but I ended up going with the paper. But you were right. Like I did have those things in my mind, and then I remember that I did.
Well, I think it's a question of spending a little more time and going back. And it's one thing to say, you know, I'm just quiet and hard to get to. That's not, then all my work is going to be little and you can't see it. You know? Nah.